Yo, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Now in this video I'm gonna be giving you guys my predictions for UFC Sandhagen versus Nurmagomedov for the main card. Now the first fight in the main card is Joel Alvarez versus Elvis Brenner, and my pick for this fight is Joel Alvarez. I mean, his only loss is against Arman Tsarukyan, and this guy is a freaking huge lightweight. He is a 6'3" guy that drops all the way down to 155. His reach is pretty freaking long, and he is 20-3. I think he has a pretty good, record. I think that the statistics also speak for themselves. I think that, throughout this fight, he's probably going to outmatch his opponent, that is Elvis Brenner. So, yeah, Joel Alvarez is going to be my pick for the first fight of the main card. And for the second fight in the main card, we got Mackenzie Dern versus Lupi Godinez. And in my opinion, I don't think it's going to be that close. I feel like Lupi Godinez is probably going to go ahead and dominate Mackenzie Dern in this fight. Statistically speaking, Godinez has won 4 out of her last 5, and Mackenzie Dern has only won 2 out of her last 5. So my pick for this fight is going to be Lupi Godinez. And the next fight in the main card, ladies and gentlemen, we have Tony Ferguson versus Michael Chiesa. And before we get into the breakdown of things, let me just say that I pray and hope that, Tony Ferguson moving up a weight class and finally starting to spar, is gonna do wonders for his career. Hopefully this is the beginning of something great for Tony Ferguson. We know that he's not in his prime anymore, but I think that, he probably has a couple more fights in his career if he's able to get a win over Michael Chiesa. Now, if he loses tonight, then I do think that Tony Ferguson needs to retire. 8 losses in a row is unacceptable for any professional fighter fighting at the very top, which is the UFC. Now, this is kind of insane, because statistically speaking, Tony Ferguson is supposed to pretty much beat Michael Chiesa in the striking department, because there's a significant advantage that Tony Ferguson has, that he almost has 5 strikes landing per minute compared to Michael Chiesa only just under 2. And in terms of takedowns, they pretty much have similar numbers. But let's go ahead and talk about the obvious, elephant in the room. Tony Ferguson is in a 7-fight losing streak. He's lost all of the 5 fights in his previous matchups, and Michael Chiesa has won 2 out of his last 5. So in my opinion, this one is a kind of toss-up. But I'm just going to go ahead and throw it out there, man. I want Tony Ferguson to win so bad. So we are going to pick Tony Ferguson to get a win over Michael Chiesa tonight. All right, and for the next fight of the night, we got Marlon Vera versus Deiveson Figueiredo. I think this fight is going to be pretty damn interesting, but my honest opinion, I feel like Deiveson Figueiredo is probably going to go out there and win this matchup. He is a championship level fighter, and it's showing. He is coming to the new division. He beats fighters like Rob Font, and he pretty much dominated Cody Garbrandt, whenever they faced off against each other. Even though he is the older fighter, I still think that he has what it takes to get to that championship level. I think that he is probably maybe a win or 2 away from, competing for the belt. For Marlon Vera, his last performance against, Sean O'Malley pretty much exposed the fact that he doesn't have the best striking and pretty much relies on other things, to get him a win, like his toughness. He is a very tough guy to get out of there. So I don't think this fight is going to end by knockout at all. I feel like we're probably going to end up seeing a decision. But Deiveson Figueiredo having that championship, experience, I think is gonna work wonders for him in this fight. And I think that Deiveson Figueiredo is gonna go out there and get the win tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Right, and for the next fight of the night is going to be the co-main event, and that's Nurmagomedov versus Michel Oleksiejczuk. And let me just say this: I think that Nurmagomedov is going to go out there and dominate, unless Oleksiejczuk, does something, spectacular, right? But I don't think that he is going to do that. He got dominated earlier this year by Michel Pereira in the very first round. He got dominated by Kevin Holland, and pretty much got his arm completely freaking broken. His career was almost over in that fight, in the first round, by the way. He's only won 2 out of his last 5 fights. And I think that Nurmagomedov is pretty much getting an easy win. Michel Oleksiejczuk, first of all, should not be fighting in the middleweight division. He should be fighting in the welterweight division. When you guys take a look at him, he kind of looks a little bit soft, especially at the weigh-ins. I don't think that he is a fighter capable to be fighting at 185. He needs to be fighting at 170. He fights in a very aggressive southpaw stance, which is kind of an oxymoron for those of you guys that don't understand. Whenever you have an aggressive southpaw and they're trying to always come forward in the open stance, that is a very, very dangerous and risky game plan to have. And I think that is pretty much the main downfall of Oleksiejczuk's entire game plan whenever he goes into fighting UFC fighters. So with that being said, I feel like Nurmagomedov is probably going to go out there and get an easy win against Michel Oleksiejczuk, who I just said got dominated pretty much in his last 2 fights. And we're going to go ahead and go with Nurmagomedov to win this matchup. All right, and for the main event, we have Corey Sandhagen versus Umar Nurmagomedov. Look, this one is pretty freaking hard to decide who is going to win. Corey Sandhagen obviously being the older guy, Umar Nurmagomedov being the younger guy. Corey Sandhagen, we know that he's a switch hitter. He likes to switch from southpaw to orthodox, and we know that Umar Nurmagomedov is strictly just an orthodox fighter. Corey Sandhagen having the height advantage, which is not that crazy an advantage, because we know that Umar Nurmagomedov has a grappling wrestling base. But some of the things that are pretty much in Corey Sandhagen's favor is obviously his strikes landed per minute. He has 5.33 compared to Umar's 4.75. He has a 44% striking accuracy, but Umar Nurmagomedov has a 69% striking accuracy. And we know for a fact that Corey Sandhagen receives way more punishment, whenever he's in the octagon. But I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that he's fought a lot more high-level guys. If we look at pretty much Corey Sandhagen's last 5 fights, he's lost a fight to Dillashaw, which is a high-level fighter. He lost to Peter Yan, another high-level fighter. He won against Song Yadong, which is another high-level fighter. He beat Marlon Vera, another high-ranked guy, and he beat Rob Font, which is another pretty decent veteran of the sport. So without a doubt, Corey Sandhagen thus far has faced the much tougher competition compared to Umar Nurmagomedov, which pretty much in his last 5 fights are fighters that are pretty much unknown to anyone in the UFC, if I'm just gonna be completely freaking honest. So in this fight, man, it's kind of hard to pick a fighter, if I'm just gonna be 100% with you guys. And I think my heart is telling me to go with Corey Sandhagen based on what I'm seeing right now, statistics wise, but I wouldn't be surprised if Umar Nurmagomedov goes out there and gets a win. I know it kind of seems a little bit unclear, but I'm gonna go ahead and pick Corey Sandhagen to win this fight. I want him to win this fight. I want to see Corey Sandhagen take on Sean O'Malley. I think that would be an incredibly fun fight, for the UFC fans to watch. These are my final picks: Joel Alvarez, Lupi Godinez, Tony Ferguson, Davison Figueiredo, Nurmagomedov, and of course Corey Sandhagen. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, it's a pleasure. Peace out and have a good one.